In the strange land of Ife, where milk and honey flow, and a river of riches in the kingdom was abundant, the residents of Ife lived in harmony and love. The king and queen were loved by many, with the exception of their son, Prince Ikenna. Everyone in Ife hated the prince with passion. Those who had encountered him told stories of how the prince bullied them and frustrated their whole existence. Prince Ikenna was an arrogant and rude young man who never respected the old and young. One bright morning, as the prince stepped out from the palace, heading into the market with his guards, they came across an old man in torn clothes with an awful smell to him. Prince Ikenna said, holding his nostrils, Old man, you stink like a market beggar. How dare you cross my path with this bad luck? The old man, not uttering a word, continued to walk away. Ikenna, who was angered by the reaction of the old man, walked back to him and pushed him to the ground, saying, "Old wizard, I was talking to you. How dare you ignore me? I am the prince of the land." The old man struggled to get up. Looking directly in Ikenna's face, he said, "By the crow of the cock tomorrow, you will turn into a horrible creature with an awful odor. Everyone will cast you away. Everyone who sees you will stone you because of your face and odor. And until you find someone who will love you despite your monstrous state and horrible odor, you will still remain like this." With the old man saying this, he vanished into thin air. Fear captured Ikenna's heart at the words of the old man. He ran back into the palace with his guards to inform his parents, the king and queen. The entire day was used in search of the old man, who mysteriously vanished, but all their efforts failed. The old man who had vanished was not a native of Ife. Walls indeed had ears. By the next day, the curse of the prince had reached the native of Ife. Everyone in Ife jubilated at the dismay of the prince. One old man saying, "He had it coming. How can a small boy like him kick me to the floor?" Another man continued. He said, "He did same to me and told me to lick his lips and the dust on his lips." The villagers gathered and drank palm wine, thanking every spirit that was punishing the prince. Prince Ikenna couldn't believe what he saw in the mirror. He looked horrible and ugly and had grown hair all over his face. He smelled awful that not even him could contain the bad odor. No one went close to his quarters. The odor coming from his chambers was so bad that the guards, maids, and servants in the palace refused to go close to him. For days and weeks, no one came close to him. Food was left at the door of his chambers. Even his parents, the king and queen, avoided him completely. That was the day he began to regret how he treated people. It was too late. He had been cursed and he did not know what to do. All the wise men, physicians, and the fetish priests that were summoned into the palace had no solution for the prince and no cure. The priest of Ife said to the king, "Long live your majesty. The gods of Ife said I should let you know that until a woman falls in love with the prince Ikenna in his hideous state, nothing will work, he said, walking out of the palace. The prince, in a state of despair, one evening ran away from the palace when everyone was asleep. He went deep into the forest, not wanting to leave anymore. He said to himself, "So this is how it felt to be maltreated, ignored, and rejected." He tied a rope to the tree, about to end it all, when a voice shouted from behind, "Hey, young man, don't do that." The aged man ran to help him down the tree. Despite his awful odor and his horrible face, Papa Ifeanyi did not hold his nose or run scared. Ikenna was surprised. Everyone in the palace had avoided him completely, even his parents. Papa Ifeanyi wiped the dirt off his clothes, saying, "Life is hard, my son, but never in life give up easily. Fight to be a victor." Ikenna, for the first time in his life, broke down into tears. Papa Ifeanyi took Ikenna to his home that evening, consoling him. Morning came as Papa Ifeanyi and his family welcomed Ikenna. He stood in front of the hut he slept and bowed his head down. He knew how horrible he was and his odor on his body. "Welcome to my compound, my son. This is my wife Amma and my daughter Amma," Papa Ifeanyi said, pointing to his wife and daughter. Papa Ifeanyi continued, "Feel free, we are family now. And by the way, what is your name, my son?" Ikenna, who stammered but managed to say his name out loud, barely looked up at Papa Ifeanyi and his family. But that he noticed the alluring beauty of his daughter. "Amma," he repeated in his head, but was quickly reminded of his face and body odor. For weeks, Ikenna kept to himself, avoiding Papa Ifeanyi and his family completely. Gradually, Papa Ifeanyi persuaded Ikenna to go hunting with him one night, and that was the bonding time. Ikenna slowly warmed up to him, telling him stories of himself, but always excluded the part that he was the crown prince of Ife. Ikenna, realizing that despite his state of being, Papa Ifeanyi treated him like a son, an equal, and not even a second did he hold his nose to stop breathing around him or treat him like the hideous creature he was. The next day, Papa Ifeanyi instructed his wife to make that of his food and Ikenna's one. He ate with him. In a month's time, Ikenna had forgotten about his hideous appearance and odor due to how Papa Ifeanyi and his family treated him. One evening, Amma sat around the evening fire with Ikenna, whilst her parents retired back into their room. Watching the flames burn away her sorrows, Amma stared at Ikenna and asked the burning question on her mind. "Were you born like this?" Ikenna quickly looked up at her and shook his head. "I was cursed by an old man." "I am sorry for asking," Amma said with sincerity. "You know, tomorrow is Ife's great market day. I would want you to accompany me." Without looking up from the flames, Ikenna nodded in agreement. The grand market day was not something Ikenna had seen before. Usually, days like this, he stayed in the palace and to himself. This was the first time seeing such display of food and culture. "Come here," Amma said, dragging Ikenna from store to store, looking and buying jewelries, clothes, food, and local beverages. Ikenna's face was covered with a cloth, leaving just her eyes. Everyone was engrossed and lost in their own world until a small boy in the crowd shouted, "He's a monster!" All heads turned to Ikenna, who then lowered his head in shame. The crowd began throwing stones at him as Amma tried to shield him. They ran away from the angry screams of the people of Ife. Amma's face was covered with blood as he reached safety. Their eyes locked as Ikenna examined her cat. He had been mesmerized by her beauty and her friendliness towards him. Her eyes were the most beautiful pairs he had ever seen, and just like that, he kissed her. She did not push him away. Amma also had come to love the beast. Ikenna had imagined this day, a day a woman would willingly come to love him, a beast like him. Ikenna had been forgotten by the entire palace, including his parents. No one had noticed his absence after being gone for about a month. The entire village, in unity with guns, machete, and sticks, found their way into the compound of Papa Ifeanyi. "Bring out the beast!" they all chanted after Amma and Ikenna was seen at the market. Words traveled to every home, talking of the beast Papa Ifeanyi had harbored in his home. Papa Ifeanyi said to the natives of Ife, "My people, Ikenna is human like us. He was just born with disabilities. Please have mercy on him." "No! We don't want a beast amongst us," they all shouted in unity. Ikenna knew this was the end. He brought all this upon himself. He came out of his hut and without warning, a man in the crowd aimed at him with his gun and shot him. Amma's shout echoed through their compound as the wounded Ikenna fell on the ground, oozing with blood. Tears rolled down her cheeks. Ikenna held her hand, assuring her, saying, "This was for the best, Amma. If this is my destiny, then so be it. My regret, maybe, is not getting to know my people well." Ikenna said with so much pain, "My people of Ife, I am very sorry on how I've treated you all." Everyone looked at each other in total confusion as Ikenna's body changed from a beast to that of human as he lost consciousness. There, the villagers gasped. One elderly man, who was once bullied by Ikenna, said out loud, "That's the crown prince!" All hell broke loose as everyone ran for their life and scattered. They knew the king would come for their heads if he knew what they had done to his son. In the peace and quiet of Papa Ifeanyi's house, Ikenna gradually opened his eyes as the gun wound on his chest vanished. The curse placed on him was revoked. The prince went back to the palace and changed from his bad ways. He treated the people of Ife with love and compassion, and later he and Amma lived a happy life and got married in the palace.